Okay, this was probably inevitable. The Indian Air Force has decided that it will not be sending fighter aircraft to a multi-nation air exercise planned in the United Kingdom in March this year. The United Kingdom is supposed to be holding the exercise Cobra Warrior multi-nation exercise over the United Kingdom, which involves NATO forces. The Indian Air Force was supposed to be sending 5 LCA Tejas fighter aircraft. What a pity. The LCA Tejas was on its first international deployment of this kind. And it turns out that it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen because of the safety of airspace, as well as NATO air forces not, perhaps going to be prioritizing participation in an air exercise at this time because of what's happening in Ukraine. Abhishek Balla live with me from Delhi on this. Abhishek, exercise Cobra Warrior not happening. Indian Air Force won't be deploying.
That's right, Shiv. And, this was a multi-nation exercise where, other than India and UK, the air forces of Belgium, Saudi Arabia, Sweden and US were to participate. We are also hearing that the exercise could be called off completely. So while the Indian Air Force had decided not to send their contingent, which included 5 LCA Tejas indigenously built fighter aircraft and also 1 C-17, there is word coming in now that the exercise could be called off. This is obviously amid the Ukraine-Russia conflict. It's a dynamic situation. Things are changing very, very rapidly, and perhaps that's the reason why this decision has been taken.
The decision has been taken for Indian Air Force fighters not to go to the UK. We've got more breaking news now. At least 3 US Air Force aircraft are flying near the Ukraine border in Romanian airspace. That's what we're hearing. 2 mid-air refueling tankers and 1 aircraft for intelligence gathering spotted in Romanian airspace very close to the Ukrainian border. All 3 have been flying for over 3 hours now. 1 refueling aircraft is in Polish airspace, we're told. Remember, NATO has become extremely active at this point of time, and that is a result of what's happening in the air between Ukraine and Russia. Huge claims and counterclaims between Ukraine and Russia of air battles, of aircraft being shot down, including fighter aircraft, helicopters, and even heavy transport aircraft. And now NATO air activity is buzzing with at least 3 big US aircraft spotted in airspace close to Ukraine. Obviously, they're not going to be flying into Ukraine airspace because that will be seen as an intervention by Russia, and it could lead to a massive escalation in aerial hostilities. But 3 US Air Force aircraft, 1 intelligence gathering aircraft and 2 mid-air refueling aircraft have been spotted in the skies over Romania, very close to the Ukrainian border, obviously in support of the NATO mission to keep track of what's happening in Ukraine. This is a big development. We'll keep you focused and tracked on all of these big military movements that are taking place right now. Okay, the reason why this is also important is because NATO has decided not to intervene at this point of time. NATO has decided that no military action can be taken at this point of time. NATO has merely condemned what is happening, but there are movements. Remember, all of this is happening. The air battles that are happening between Ukraine and Russia are taking place in airspace very close to these NATO countries, whether it is Romania or all of the other countries that we're talking about. There are many NATO countries there, and therefore for their own airspace protection, their air forces have been activated. NATO works as an intergovernmental military alliance, and therefore if one country is under threat, the entire NATO gets activated. So whether it is air defense, whether it is missile defense, whether it is aircraft in the air on combat air patrols, whether it is intelligence gathering missions, they're all there. And obviously the United States, being a major part of NATO, has its assets also in the air. Please remember that the United States has many bases in European countries as part of the NATO mission, and therefore these aircraft are from there, they're based there, and they are in the air from those bases to support any NATO mission in the air, looking very closely at the US, at what's happening in Ukraine. Maria, Pysarenko continues to be with me. She's our brave reporter on the ground in Kiev. Maria, lot of air activity taking place. I wanted to ask you about that first. A lot of claims about, big aircraft being shot down. The Ukrainian Air Force has claimed that at least 2 heavy IL-76 Russian aircraft have been shot down. 7 helicopters and fighter jets have apparently been shot down, according to the Ukrainians. What are you hearing? How does one confirm or corroborate or verify this information? There's a lot of claims being made.
Yeah, right. The information about this big military aircraft shot near Kiev is true. It has been confirmed by the official sources, by the Security Council of Ukraine, and also by the military. So this was Il-76, big Russian aircraft with 145 people on board.
Yes.
This aircraft was shot down near Vasilkiv. Vasilkiv is a smaller town on the outskirts of Kiev. And this is, yes, so I confirm it. This is the true information. We have seen it from the official people here in Ukraine. And also another official information which has just been released is that Kiev is under control of Ukrainian army, and the first huge Russian attack had been repelled during the battles which were happening since morning, since the beginning of this day. So this is also confirmed, and a lot of people in Kiev are now a little bit feel a little bit more calm and easy, because there have been no loud explosions or loud sounds for 2 hours already. So this also proves that the fighting in the streets, the battles in the streets, and also the destruction, the attempts to destroy the motorcade of Russian military equipment were really successful for the Ukrainian army. And for now there is, so to say, a short period of silence, yes, of peace in the streets, but not for long, we guess, because according to what our official information sources say, there could be another attempt to attack. So for now, Kiev is under control of Ukrainian army, and there are here and there reports about other cities where the fighting is still continuous. So according to what we see also from the defense ministry, there are also air alerts in Vinnytsia, in Odessa, also in Kharkiv. So the battles are still going on in Ukraine, in other cities, but in Kiev there is like 2 hours of silence, so to say. Yeah.
Absolutely. And Maria, we also have with us India Today's Nagarjun, my colleague, who's also with me. I want to bring him on board, and then I want to get your perspective also. Naga, you're hearing about 3 U.S. aircraft. That's what we've been able to track. 3 U.S. aircraft spotted in airspace close to Ukraine, Romanian airspace. But this is obviously the NATO network kicking into action. Mid-air refuelers, intelligence gathering aircraft, all of them in the air as part of the NATO actions. Obviously, they're not flying into Ukraine, but they're all flying around Ukraine.
Well, that's true, Shiv. In fact, what we have picked up is at least 3 aircrafts are on the border of Ukraine on the western side. These are the US Air Force aircrafts, 2 refueling tankers which are flying in midair for last 3 to 4 hours on the Romanian-Ukraine border, and one in the Poland-Ukraine border. And also there's one dedicated aircraft which is flying near the border of the western part of Ukraine, which is gathering intel information about all the airborne aircrafts of both Ukraine and Russian military. And not just that, we have also found out that there's also unmanned drone of the US Air Force, which is flying for the last 4 hours near Crimea, again the border of near the Black Sea border. So the US has completely deployed since overnight, since past 2 o'clock in the local time, midnight. These aircrafts have been flying, and the US is monitoring this airspace closely, both at the Romanian end and also the Poland end. And of course, one can join the dots and make sure that US is acting behalf of NATO also, and that forces are deployed to strengthen the NATO. And at any time, if the NATO deploys the aircrafts and there's an airfare war system used, fuel tankers will be required, and US is already gathered at the main points.
Naga, stay with me. I want to get Maria in on this. Maria, NATO aircraft spotted in the sky, very close to Ukrainian airspace at this point of time, at a time when you're seeing a lot of air action between Ukraine and Russia. Are you foreseeing any action by NATO at this time? Because this airspace is all very, very close together.
You're right, and this is also what Ukrainians and experts and people with diplomatic ties have been requiring, asking, calling for today's NATO, please close the sky above Ukraine. This is the one pledge, the one thing that everybody is writing on Twitter, on Facebook, tagging all the diplomatic sources possible. So I guess if that is really the true information, because now hearing, according to what I see, we have to yet confirm the information that this aircraft is for good cause for our protection, for protection of Ukraine and Ukrainian airspace. So this is what is really crucial now, because Ukrainian army can combat Russians on ground. There is no problem with that, but airstrikes are really what makes everything difficult, what complicates everything. And also, as we've seen yesterday and today's morning, they do strike the civilian parts of the city, so not only the military bases, and that is important to stop Russia from doing this.
Maria, what's the situation in Kiev today? Are people trying to get out of the city? This is my final question to you before I let you go for the moment. Are people trying to get out of the city, get to a safer place, or are they still in their shelters?
People are in shelters and also in the metro stations. The amount of people on the platforms of metro stations is huge. It's really doubled, I guess, since yesterday, because yesterday not everybody decided to spend the night in the shelter. And this night was promised to be heavy, promised to be very dangerous in Kiev. So people decided to go to the metro stations, and the shutters were put so that there would be no threat of, some enemy, some maybe sabotage groups coming to the station. So metro doesn't work today as a public transport, but only as a places to go to hide, as bomb shelters. And as of this day, the 26th of February, yet no air alerts, no sirens were spotted in Kiev. So only the sounds of explosion and the sirens in other cities like Kharkiv and Odessa. No air alarm in Kiev, official air alarm so far. Maybe because it was, very early in the morning, and nobody did switch on these sirens, but people did hide in shelters, but without the siren as a sign to do so.
Maria, I request you to stay with me for just a couple minutes more, because I wanted to get your reaction to a story that we are, on right now with the Russian army. Let's go to that story now. With the Russian military taking control of the Hostomel air base in suburban Kiev.